Well, hi there. We wanted to show you how to make this recipe, the no knead bread, which is a wonderful artisan loaf of bread, and show you how easy it is to make. The first thing we're going to do is turn on the oven. So I have a little sheet in here that I need to take out, and then we put on bake, and I put it on 500 degrees, turn it on, and I have one of two containers here that we have been using, and it changes the shape of the bread. I sort of like this one here because it sort of elongates the bread, and I put it in here because we have to preheat it to 500 degrees before we do anything else. So then, as we have this going here, I will now start to make the dough itself and show you how incredibly easy this is. I have unsifted bleached flour here. I'm taking 3 cups. 2 and 3. And now I'm going to add 1/4 teaspoon of yeast. That's it. That's all the yeast that goes in there. I am then adding 1 1/4 teaspoons of kosher salt. I'm using this kosher salt here, but any salt will do, but this is just a better flavor. So here's 1 teaspoon. So that's it. Now I'm stirring the yeast and the salt, and I'm blending it, and just basically stirring it around. Sorry about that. Stirring it around. And then I'm adding, where's my cup? Where's the full cup, Jimmy? Oh, then I'm adding 1, and I'm using a warm water from the tap. So I have 1 cup and 3/4. So I'm just doing it 1, 2, and 3. And that's it. So now I'm going to stir this together, and I'm just gently mixing it. And working the water into the dough. Just take it off from the side. And then when it has gripped, so then you can go and stir a little bit more from the center here. What you want to make sure is that you don't have any dry spots in here, so that the water is worked well through the entire dough. And that's it. That's all it takes. So I'm now cleaning this up a little bit.
So it's still pretty tacky.
It's very tacky actually. So what I'm going to do is put a little water on this here so it doesn't stick, and I'm just going to smooth this out. Take it off from the sides, and that's all there is to it. And then now I'm going to take a towel and just place a towel over it, and I put it in a place where there is no draft and no big temperature change. So I actually put it in the oven overnight to make sure it is free of any draft and has a consistent temperature.
For how many hours?
All right, so it takes about 10 to 12 hours. I'm usually making that dough up in the evening, anytime in the evening, and next morning, 8 o'clock, the dough is ready to go. So and then, of course, we prepared this. So this is what I did yesterday. This is what the dough looks like when you take it out in the morning. It's pretty sticky. You can see it's soft, right? Very unlike other dough that you would have ever worked with when you do baking. So now we have to wait for the oven to reach 500 degrees, and as soon as that happens, we'll proceed to the next step. Okay, we're back. The oven beeped. We're at 500 degrees. So what I'm going to do now is take that dough out and put it on a surface. Now we have a stone counter, so this is perfect here. I'm using a wheat flour at the base. Now you can use cornmeal or you can use regular flour if you don't have anything available here. So I'm going to let that dough come out. And by the way, the amount of water you want to use depends to some degree on the elevation that you're in. The higher up you are, the more water you will need. So the base recipe calls for 1.5 cups of water. I'm using 1¾ but you may end up go ahead and test it depending on where you are. So now I have floured this. I'm now taking one side and then fold it over. I'm taking the other side and fold it over. And I'm going to flour it some more. That will give it a nice color. And then I'm going to take a knife and I'm just going to make a few incisions. And then this is very fragile. It's actually a little bit too much water in here. I think I should have used maybe just a little less water on this one. So you play with it. The dough is actually quite forgiving. You don't have to be like super perfect to make this come out okay. So this is now super hot.
Got to make sure you have a good mitt because
Right, this mitt.
500 degrees is
So now
terribly
we're
hot.
dropping it in with the folded side up. Okay,
Folded
so
side up.
the ones that we have folded it over, that side goes up. So you take it as you can, and then just drop it in. And really important, put the lid on it. So that's actually what makes this work, is to put the lid on it.
It makes the crust very crunchy.
Yeah, so in commercial baking, sourdough or any of these things, you would apply steam. The commercial baking ovens have a steam option. So the steam then encrusts the skin of the dough and keeps the moisture inside, right? So now we're putting this on 20 minutes, putting the timer on 20 minutes, and let it lid on bake for 20 minutes, and when that's up, we'll come right back. All right. So the beeper went off, and it's time to take off the lid. Now take a look at this beauty here. So we're moving the lid now. It's super hot. Be very careful. So now the bread is formed, and it's pretty solid inside, but we now want to have a nice crust. So
Brown.
now
It's going to brown up now.
it's going to brown up now. So what we're going to do is we set the timer for 13 minutes. It's between 12 and 14 minutes. So 13 minutes we're going to check in. I think it will be good at that point, and we'll see how it looks then. Okay, the beeper went off, and we'll now see what happened. Voila, here it is. Look at this.
Okay, let me just keep it down for a moment. I just want to show, I have to focus it in.
All right, and
That's
I'm going
not
to take
focusing.
it out. All right, we'll take it out here. A little bit too dark for the camera. Okay, so here's another look in better light.
Okay, looks
And
great. Smells pretty fabulous in
Smells
here.
fabulous. So we'll give it maybe 15-20 minutes before we slice it open, because it needs to settle down for a little bit, and then we'll show you what it looks inside. So we'll be right back. Okay, so So well, let's take a look. It's sufficiently cooled down, and we'll take a couple slices so you can see what it looks like inside. It's nice and crunchy, and take a look at this. So it's fluffy. It's amazing how such a little quantity of yeast really blows this up. Now, as I was saying, we put this into a larger container, but if you like your bread to be a little bit more bulky, let's say round, then you take this kind of container, which will keep it together and rise it up higher. So it's your choice, whatever you have available. So it's easy to make, enjoy, and bon appetit.
You might want to suggest for the woman or man that washes the bowl.
Oh. Yeah. So my wife keeps saying that you want to clear out the bowl. You can see how this stuff sticks in here. This turns into cement. You know, if you don't clean out your sink right away after you wash down your utensils and your bowl, you will have a hard time later on. So clean up after yourself right away, as we learned the hard way. Okay.
Enjoy.
Enjoy. Bye-bye.